So the Texas Hill Country is an absolute special place with its gorgeous landscapes and tight-knit communities. But many folks are worried that the rapid growth may just change what makes our area so unique. Today, I want to have an honest conversation about these concerns, but also share some tips to the newcomers on how they can adapt and thrive here. And for us locals, the opportunities that growth can bring. Ryan Rendon Realty Group, your favorite realtor right here in the Texas Hill Country. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button, but also that little bell so you can get notified anytime I put out videos just like this one. Okay, so let's first talk about how the Texas Hill Country is home to diverse wildlife, and this is something that definitely surprises the newcomers. So here in the Hill Country, you'll find deer in the yard, wild hogs on your property, and the occasional rattlesnake sunbathing in the grass. And for us locals, this is something that definitely comes second nature. For a lot of us, we actually grew up hunting and fishing and living off the land. But for those moving here, especially from the city or even out of state, this can definitely be a shock. You may not expect to find a deer eating your freshly planted flowers or have to check for snakes before stepping outside. It's really important to know that in the Hill Country, you're living alongside nature and there are ways to coexist safely. To all you newcomers, my advice is to learn about our local wildlife. It's honestly best to keep your yard clean, but also to keep from trash overflowing because that could potentially attract raccoons and other critters. And another thing you could consider is installing a deer-proof fence around your garden, around your yard to protect your plants and or your vegetables. So one of the biggest surprises for newcomers is how extreme our weather can be. Let's all be honest, summers here can absolutely be brutal. I mean, we're talking about temperatures well over 100 degrees. And for some summers, we can actually have consecutive days of 100-degree weather. Back in 2011, before I left for the United States Air Force, we had, I believe it was around 40 to 50 days of consecutive 100-degree weather. It was so hot and dry that all the ranchers were selling off every piece of livestock that they had because they just could not feed them or water them. So needless to say, it's very important to prepare your home and your livestock and your animals for this extreme heat. I personally recommend installing energy efficient windows, investing in a good HVAC system, and even setting up solar shades. And then another absolute crazy thing we have around here is flash floods. So when it does rain, it pours, and with unique terrain in the Hill Country, the rain runs off quickly, causing a sudden and sometimes dangerous floods. It's absolutely essential to stay alert to flash flood warnings and know the safest routes to higher grounds. One of the tips I always like to give the newcomers moving to our area is to make sure you always have a safety kit or like a emergency kit, but also knowing the safest routes, your emergency routes in the case of emergencies. You want to make sure to stay hydrated, avoid outdoor activities during peak heat hours, and check in with your neighbors during extreme weather. And yes, the Texas Hill Country can also see snow and ice during the winter months. While it is rare, when it does happen, it can definitely catch you off guard. In fact, back in February 2021, we had a winter storm so brutal across the state of Texas. We had a crazy amount of ice and snow, but also just freezing weather. It was in our area here in the Hill Country, sitting right around 10 to 11 degrees for about 5 days straight. We also had a very large amount of ice and snow. So the thing is about Texas and the Texas Hill Country, we are just not set up for winter storms like that. So we had power outages out the wazoo, but also people were losing plumbing like crazy. So you want to make sure your home is well insulated, but also make sure you stock up on the essentials if there is a winter storm in the forecast. Now to change topics, water for locals is probably one of the biggest concerns when it comes to growth to our area. We rely heavily on wells and aquifers, and unfortunately these are limited resources. And to be perfectly honest, this is probably one of the biggest things that newcomers need to understand is the fact that we need to exercise water conservation. So if you're new here, you may consider installing a rainwater collection system. And I have a really good friend of mine who does this for a living. His contact information is down below. His name is Jacob Smith, and he would be more than happy to help you out with your rainwater collection system needs. So purified rainwater can be used for your household needs or irrigation, and it helps reduce the strain on our aquifers. Another great tip you could consider is installing drought-resistant plants in your landscaping and yard. Our native Texas plants require less water and can handle the dry conditions better. Another thing you could consider doing is a zero-scape yard. So basically you're cutting out all the grass and having to water grass on a consistent basis. By having a zero-scape yard with rocks, cactus, and those native plants, there's far less water that's being sucked out of the ground for grass that's not even native. So one of the keys to successfully settling into the Texas Hill Country is understanding and respecting the way of life here. Locals have deep roots in this community and the pace of life is different from urban areas. It's important to be respectful of local traditions, follow community guidelines, and be considerate to your neighbors. So if you are moving here, take the time to get to know your neighbors. I think it's a great idea to attend our local events, but also support our local businesses and get to know the rules and regulations for our area. You know, things like respecting water restrictions, following local speed limits, but also being courteous to those out there on the road will help you integrate well within our local communities. So like I mentioned in the start of this video, the growth for us locals can definitely feel a bit overwhelming, but it is important to remember that this can bring some great opportunities. For starters, more people means more demand for local businesses. So whether you own a restaurant, a shop, or provide services, there is a growing market for what you have to offer. And while property taxes, of course, are a concern, let's not forget that property taxes do fund vital resources here for our communities. So here in Texas, property taxes go towards public schools, road maintenance, emergency services like fire departments, and even local infrastructure improvements. And this is vital because these improvements can help towards flood control, but also better roads. So yes, while these higher property taxes can definitely be a frustration, they do help ensure that the Texas Hill Country is a safer, well-serviced, and safe place to live. So as the population grows throughout the Texas Hill Country, we're gonna see more infrastructures, more schools, better services, things that benefit pretty much everyone. At the end of the day, the Texas Hill Country is worth protecting. Growth is happening, and while this can bring challenges, it also brings some great opportunities. For all you newcomers, understanding the local way of life and respecting land is absolutely crucial. And for all you locals, embracing positive changes like economic growth and infrastructure improvement can help us all thrive together. So as the Texas Hill Country grows, it's important that we find ways to balance the influx of new residents with the preservation of our unique culture and natural beauty. Growth doesn't have to mean losing what makes this place special. With the right approach, we can protect our resources, maintain our way of life, and create opportunities for locals and newcomers alike. And whether you're looking to buy or sell in 3 days or 3 years, I would love to be a realtor choice. All my contact information is above, but also down in the description. And like I mentioned, make sure you subscribe to the channel, but also hit that little bell so you can get notified anytime I put out videos just like this one. We'll see you in the next video.